Hi there, welcome everyone. My name is Tanya Barajas. I'm one of the admissions counselors here at Binghamton University. Thank you for joining us at this residential life overview. We hope just to give you a good sense of what residential life is like here at Binghamton University and answer some of your questions too. Just to start out with, we're gonna kind of go around and introduce ourselves. I'll go ahead and start with my colleague. Justin, would you go ahead and please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Justin Brim, an admissions counselor here with Tanya as well, and just happy you're joining us today. Really excited, and also excited to be a part of this panel from Residential Life.
Thanks, Justin. And then from Residential Life, we have two representatives here with us. Susan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sue Briggs. I'm the Associate Director of Residential Life for Housing. So like Justin, I'm really excited to be here. I always love to talk with people about housing. So I'm glad that you're here today and excited to have the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about our Residential Life program.
Thank you. And Diana?
Hey everyone, my name is Diana Castellanos. I'm an assistant director in Residential Life, and I work with Sue on housing. I also work on Be Connected curriculum and our diversity initiatives. I'm also really excited to talk to you all about Residential Life and share a little bit about our communities and some of the great events that we get to do here.
Awesome, thank you both. We also have some students on with us. Ashley?
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley O'Toole. I'm a senior that's studying biology with a minor in art history, and I lived in Hinman for my first 3 years, and now I live in Susquehanna community.
Great, thank you. Jillian?
Hi guys, I'm Jillian. I'm currently a sophomore majoring in integrative neuroscience. I right now live in the Hinman community in Hughes, but my freshman year I lived in Mohawk in CIW.
Great, and Nora?
Hi everyone, my name is Nora. I'm currently a freshman majoring in political science. My first year I'm living in Newing, so it's a great community as for the others, and I'm excited to speak with all of you.
Awesome. So those are our illustrious panelists. Thank you everyone for being here. For those of you in our attendees, if you have any questions for our panelists, feel free to enter your questions in the Q&A bubble at the bottom of your screen. We'll be answering them. Some of them will be answering live and some of them will be answering through text. So feel free to share those with us. Let me go ahead and share screen, some of our presentation that we've got going on here. So here we are, a nice aerial view of our campus, Binghamton University, tucked into the rolling hills of upstate New York, just looking over the Susquehanna River. So what you see here is an outline of our campus in a shape that we call the brain. And then a lot of our residential communities are on the outside of the brain. So here again are all of our panelists. So we have 6 communities here at Binghamton University. They are named College in the Woods, Dickinson, Hinman, Mountain View, Newing, and the apartment communities. So you heard from some of our students where they have lived and where they're currently living. So each of these 6 communities is unique, has their own unique histories, their own traditions. They have their own a collegiate professor who advises those communities. So we're going to talk a little bit, not about each one, but just kind of an overall view at these communities too. Again, a map of our campus here. So Newing, which one of our students had talked about, is over here, and you can see the cluster of buildings that we have for Newing, Dickinson, and College in the Woods, which is aptly named because it is very close to our nature preserve, which is right behind the campus here. We have Mountain View College, Hinman College, and then we have the apartment communities, Hillside community here, just to get you situated. There are roads that go throughout the campus and around the campus, so students can pick up campus shuttles to get into closer to the main campus buildings and class buildings. But overall, our campus takes about 10 to 15 minutes to walk across. Students, would you agree with that assessment? Because I think from the map view, it looks quite large, but when you've walked across campus or walked to your dorm room, how did you find that?
I think definitely, as you said, it's a 15-minute walk, but really in essence, it feels like much shorter. Just enjoying the view overall and noticing your surroundings, it passes by in a glimpse. So it's 15 minutes seems like a large number, but really while you're walking, it won't feel like that, and you'll really enjoy it. The beautiful scenery and the woods. I mean, outside, the fall trees are just beautiful. So you'll really enjoy the scenery.
Thank you, Nora. Appreciate that. Something that is unique to our Binghamton University residential life is we do have learning communities as part of them. We are going to have a special information session just for the learning communities where we're going to go more in depth about them, but I'll let you know kind of what they are here, and we can talk a little bit more about how to get involved with those too. So CORE is an acronym for Computer, Robotics, and Engineering. This one is located in our Dickinson community. So you don't have to be an engineering major to be a part of it. We have students from all over who are part of CORE. But we do have an engineering learning community as well. We have in Mountain View, we have an entrepreneurship learning community in Dickinson, environmental action and studies at College in the Woods. We also have international relations and cultural exchange. I think that's a newer one at College in the Woods, nursing at Mountain View, politics, law, and society at College in the Woods, and public service in Hinman. Are any of our students here part of one of these learning communities? Would you like to share? Nope, that's okay. We're going to get more into the learning communities when we get into that next information session, and you'll also hear from some of the collegiate professors too. Binghamton University also offers specialty housing. So some of the specialty housing, it includes gender inclusive housing, chemical free housing, quiet living housing, transfer housing, and break housing. I wanted to ask, Sue, could you talk a little bit about the specialty housing?
Sure, I'd love to. We offer the specialty housing options that Tanya just kind of outlined for you as opt-in options. So in other words, most of those options are available throughout campus. They're not limited to one specific building. So you could choose to live in chemical-free housing in any of our residential areas. Chem-free housing is for students who want to opt for a lifestyle both on and off campus, where students agree that they won't participate in the use of any alcohol or other kind of substances. And again, that's both on and off campus. The quiet living is an option for students who really want to ensure that they're in a little bit of a more quiet living environment, focused more on academics. I always like to emphasize that with quiet living, it is just as social as any other place on campus, just a little bit quieter. So those options are available in Susquehanna community, and then typically over in Hinman. Chem-free, I don't know if I mentioned, is available in all of our lower campus residential areas, so all the traditional residence halls, but not in the apartments. I like to talk about gender inclusive housing. I think that that's an important option for students to understand. We offer gender inclusive housing in all of our areas, including the apartments. And that provides us an opportunity for students to live together regardless of gender identity. So gender inclusive housing is by room. So that's an important thing to understand. If you do opt into gender inclusive housing, that would mean that you could live with a roommate regardless of gender. So that's a great option for a lot of students. It's not the right option for everyone. And so I really do like to make sure when I talk about that, that students understand what exactly that means. I think I covered all of them, but happy to entertain questions about any of them if you need.
Yeah, one more that I had failed to talk about was break housing. So with break housing, sometimes students can't leave campus for breaks. So a lot of our international students might stay in break housing. Some of our athletes might stay in break housing too. So that's what that one means as well. But otherwise, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I might throw in with break housing, and actually with all of these, when, especially as prospective students, it's good if you understand that every year we're evaluating what we do with our learning communities, our specialty housing options, and so things can change from year to year. This year, for example, whereas historically we've had specific buildings identified for break housing, this year, for example, we don't. So any student who lives on campus, regardless of where they're currently living, would be able to stay on a limited basis during breaks. So that piece you got to pay attention to as we get closer, to housing for next year and solidifying all the options. You'll really want to pay attention to what those different options mean and where specifically on campus they're offered, because there is some variance from year to year.
Great, thank you. In regards to the different room styles, I know that's a question that comes up quite frequently. In general, I mean, we're not going to get too in depth. I think Residential Life does a really good job of putting room style layouts on their website. So if you do visit the Residential Life website, click on the Our Communities section, you can see layouts and you can see pictures. So we're not going to have too many pictures in this presentation. But the general description for those room styles are corridor style doubles. We also have suites on our campus, flats, and some designed triples are also available. Would maybe Ashley or Jillian like to talk about some of the room styles that you've lived in since you've been here on campus?
Sure. My freshman year and also right now I'm living in a suite. I really like living in a suite style. I made my friends that way. I did random housing and I was at first very intimidated by it. I thought I wouldn't like or get along with my roommates, but I really liked it. And to this day, we're still friends and we live together.
Yeah. Can you describe what suite style means for those who may not know?
Oh, sure. Suite style is basically there are 3 rooms and 1 common area. And in each room, 2 people live in it. So altogether, it's like a 6-person suite. Yeah.
Great. And Ashley, did you also live in a suite or did you live in a different style room?
Yeah, so for the first 3 years, I had a suite with 6 people in it.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And Hinman, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. A lot of our students who live on campus, they do have a meal plan. And so we do have 4 different dining halls on campus. Some colleges and universities, they have a swipe system. At Binghamton, the meal plan, there are different plans, but you just kind of use as much as you need. So rather than a swipe per meal, they do it by weight. That's what I think that's still what's happening in our dining halls. So the various meal plan options that students can choose from. We also do accommodate dietary restrictions that students may have if you have particular allergies to anything. We have options for vegan, we have options for vegetarian, we have options for kosher and halal in our dining halls as well. Do any of the students here have a favorite dining hall on campus?
I think personally, my favorite is C4. It's right by my building. It's like a 2-minute walk, so it's so convenient. And it also serves my dietary needs of kosher. So they have a plethora of resources and just so many options for everyone. I know I have a lot of different acquaintances that they are vegan or vegetarian, and the dining hall staff really accommodate for all of your needs and choices. So each dining hall has its own specialties, but overall they all have serve everyone's preferences.
Great, thanks, Nora. For safety and security, all the residence halls are locked and they require key access. So students can only access the building that they're living in. They wouldn't be able to access another building that they're not living in. There are also blue light phone systems, which are common on a lot of common on a lot of college campuses in the U.S., named so because they have a little actual blue light attached to them that you can use to call campus police if you feel unsafe, or even if you just need some extra help or information. I remember I used the blue light one time to ask for help with my car that had needed a jump, and our police were very kind to bring out some cables to give my car a jump that evening. And you do have access to the campus police 24/7 as well. But overall, Binghamton is fairly safe campus. From the students that I've talked to, most feel quite comfortable, walking around on and off campus at various times of the day and night. But we do also have escort opportunities for students if they would like that escort back to their dorm after studying late in the library or something like that. With regard to some of the amenities that we have, I know that the rooms have cable, they have Wi-Fi, they have computer pods, they have mail service. So students do get, we have a U.S. Postal at Binghamton University, and students can get mail to their dorm rooms. We also have free laundry, so that's kind of a big one for a lot of students to be, and a lot of parents and families too, to be able to have free laundry in their buildings. We also have housekeeping, custodial staff who are in charge of cleaning all the public spaces, common rooms, and bathrooms. And with regard to appliances, students can check out things like fridges that they lease on a semesterly basis. We have, each one of the communities has its own unique traditions. So I know we have a student here from College in the Woods. Can you talk a little bit about maybe one of the unique traditions that they have in College in the Woods?
So some of the traditions, I know they have a casino night. And I went there one time very briefly, but when I went inside, it was basically hosted in the CIW dining hall. And they had like different kinds of like poker games or like blackjack and stuff like that. It was really fun. I don't know how that will work with COVID, but I'm sure like they will hold other different things and it'll be fun.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Yeah, so another student that had lived in College in the Woods did share with me the casino in the Woods, which I remember they shared that this was a charity event at that time. The money that they had raised went for local charities. In College in the Woods, its history, it's kind of one of the buildings that's been around a little bit longer. So they're grandfathered into a special rule that they can have something like a casino night, whereas I don't think that's possible in some of the other buildings. So they do try to have something like that. You're right, it might look a little bit different this year, but I think it's a tradition that they'll try to keep going, after COVID has passed. Some other traditions include at Dickinson, there's a mutant mania. One is running with goats, which is a 5K run charity, another charity run walk. We have another one at Mountain View, which I think fall in love with Mountain View and music in Mountain View. Are there any other traditions that students want to share? That's all right. Some other traditions for Newing is the Newing Navy. So these are games that students play, competitions that they can play against each other. And then within the apartments, there is a tradition of Groundhog Eve. So the groundhog is the mascot of the apartments because there are many, many groundhogs that are around that area. So Groundhog Day, the night before Groundhog Eve, there's some celebrations and parties there happening at the apartments. The residential communities also offer professional development opportunities within the residential communities. Diana, would you be able to talk a little bit about some of the professional development that students can utilize within the residential communities?
Yes. We have career counselors that work in specific communities, and we have 3 that work closely with the Fleischman Center and Residential Life. And so you can actually connect with one of our career consultants to have your resume read, connect you to an internship. They really kind of help you develop in your first year, and then you can continue to see them throughout your time on campus to really help you and connect you in terms of that internship opportunities, especially in your first year when you might not necessarily have an internship, but you might be exploring volunteer opportunities or really just trying to set up your resume. And so this is really great because you can just do that right in the residence halls. You can make an appointment and meet with them. And so that's really an additional service, and it's really good. Our students utilize them a lot. And they also offer, oftentimes they'll do their own individual, right now we're doing maybe virtual programming, but they will connect with residents in a variety of ways. So they're also an additional resource.
Thanks, Diana. So each of these communities also has a collegiate professor. As I said, there is going to be another session that's going to dive a little bit deeper in those learning communities, and you're also going to hear from some of the collegiate professors that we have at Binghamton. But just to tell you what a collegiate professor is, the way our residential life is set up is kind of modeled around the Oxford model. So I guess most people would be familiar with that by Harry Potter. Would you agree, Sue and Diana, that that's kind of like the most famous version of the Oxford models, like the different Harry Potter houses? You have Gryffindor and the other ones I forgot. Sorry, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter person. But some people might be dismayed by that. That's okay. But the idea is that each one has its own theme and its own style of living. So each one has also its own collegiate professor, a person who advises that community, who helps to navigate kind of the complexities of college life, and helps to educate students. So you can hear firsthand from some of our collegiate professors in the upcoming learning community session that we are going to have as part of Open House. Just a little bit more of that. So that is where we are in our brief overview. Here, we have arrived to kind of our question and answer. I know that you must have many questions about what it must be like to live on campus, and maybe generally what that process is like. Justin, can you share, if there's some questions in the Q&A, can you share some with us?
Sure. This is a fun one to start off with. So it looks like it was just answered, but I guess I'll answer it live real quick. Do the rooms have TVs? Start off with a fun one. Anybody care to?
Does anyone want to take that? Do the rooms have TVs?
Yeah, let's guess, but yeah.
Sure. So the rooms, they don't have TVs, but I'm sure you could bring your own. You can find a cheap one from Walmart and it does the job. I know a lot of people who have it in the rooms and it serves justice. But even if you don't, you can even use your phone or laptop and still stream shows and TV shows from there. The Wi-Fi is great to serve everyone's compatible needs of service, and you have fun either way, with or without a TV. But the room also has like so many different things that you can use to activate your needs.
Thanks, Nora.
Let's see, I see one here that says, what type of kitchen appliances are allowed in the rooms?
Diana or Sue, do you want to take that one?
Anything that doesn't have a coil, you can't have like anything that has like a burner or coil. Everything else is, and we allow like small microwaves, small refrigerators as well, but you can't have like a hot plate. Hot plates aren't allowed in the residence halls. Mm-hmm. And you'll get a list of, we call them fire safety measures that you have to take in place.
And I guess piggyback off that one, it looks like there's a question about kitchens. Are there kitchens in any of the apartments? There definitely are. Yeah, there definitely are.
The apartments have kitchen, and actually all the residence halls have one main kitchen at the bottom of their floor. Sometimes it's on the first floor predominantly, where there's a stove, an oven, a refrigerator that everybody in that building can use as well.
Ashley, since you're in the apartment community, so what's it like? You kind of shifted over from, Hinman to having a kitchen now. Do you enjoy that? Are you cooking more? What's on the menu?
Yeah, definitely. So I went down to a smaller meal plan and I'm able to cook directly from my room. So that helps with, like, when the weather's bad, I can just have my own things, but also the communal kitchen. It's fun. Like when I was back in Hinman, to make cookies downstairs whenever you needed a break. So that was, either one was pretty fun. I think, like, it's easy to work around both options.
Cool. Any other good questions in there, Justin? I see we've got a few in the Q&A.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people answering them really quickly. So let me just see if there are. Is housing available? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. I can answer one of the ones about the apartment, how many people live in each apartment. So there's 2-person ones, but those are pretty rare and pretty hard to get into. What you're usually going to get is the 4-person apartment. So there's 4 rooms with 1 person each.
And I would add that up in Hillside. So that's the configuration in Susquehanna. And in Hillside, there actually are some 6-person apartments as well. So 2, 4, or 6-person, most commonly 4.
I see there's a question that also asks, how does the housing process work? This is something that you'll be prompted and you'll have so many different emails explaining everything once you ultimately register and confirm your enrollment here. So you'll be well assured of how it works. But just to give a summary of it, you get assigned a date and you get to pick a roommate and you get to pick your own room based on the availability in each community. Overall, it's a very smooth process, and Res Life and all the staff at Binghamton are always there to accommodate your needs and help you navigate through the process of housing.
Nora, I'm glad to hear you say that, especially as a new first-year student who just went through the process. We're always assessing how students like the process. I think one of the things that's unique about or not unique, but maybe different about the Binghamton process and some of the other schools you might look at is, as Nora pointed out, our students select their own room. So we're not going to assign you to a room. During room selection, you will actually place yourself in a bed in the area that you want, again, based on available space. Another really important thing that Nora said that I can never stress enough is all of our information is going to come to you through your BU email. So once you make that commitment, you want to start watching your BU email, and you want to watch it regularly, because that's where you're going to get all of your housing information, as well as lots of other information about the university that will be important for you to keep track of and act on.
Yeah, definitely. And also, wherever you end up, whichever community you're housed in, I'm sure you're going to feel a sense of community and very homey. You're going to strive in every room that you get set up with. You'll enjoy it either way.
Here's a fun question. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Justin.
Oh, no, here's a fun question. If anybody would like to share their thoughts. Favorite place to eat on campus?
I know we had one student, I think Nora, you said C4. Jillian, do you have a favorite spot to eat on campus?
I personally always go to the marketplace. I'm always there. I usually go when I don't want to go to the dining hall, or if it's like too far. I live in Hinman right now, so the walk to the nearest available dining hall would be Appalachian, and that's quite a walk. I usually just like go straight to Marketplace, and they have a bunch of options there, like Copper Top, Subway, Chicken Bap. It's like a kind of like restaurant area where you get to like get foods from like different places and kind of like eat different things with your friends. Because of COVID, you can't really sit in the marketplace anymore, but you can bring it back to your room. They do have like takeout boxes and options too. Yeah.
Julian mentioned the Hinman Dining Hall, and this is a great opportunity to mention that, she mentioned having to go up to Mountain View for this year. That's because the Hinman Dining Hall is currently offline for renovations. Driving by there, it is going to be amazing when it's back online. So I have a feeling the Hinman Dining Hall is going to become a favorite. It's going to be kind of the latest and greatest on campus, and is slated, fingers crossed, to reopen for the fall 2021 semester. So hopefully you could be among the first to use it.
Here's a general question that I think somebody mentions. I think it's pretty broad and I think can be answered. What do you do if you're having trouble with your roommate? Because I see several different ones about roommates chosen. I know we touched based on that. But what if, any specific, somebody has like a general, trouble with their roommate or such like? I know there's a lot that you can do, as roommates, to kind of, obviously talk about it and do different things like that. But I was just wondering if anybody would like to share maybe some other steps that, they can do and who they might lean on, in that residential environment.
I can answer this question.
Awesome.
So going to college, of course, is a big step and a great experience. But of course, there's always going to be some people who just don't work together in the same room. And if nothing works out, the Binghamton really does a great job accommodating. The first step is always to speak with your resident advisor, also known as your RA. You have one in each hallway of the building, and they're kind of like a person to go talk to or speak to them if you ever need anything. They're living in the building with you, a few doors down from your room, so they can always help sort it out with you. But there's also a lot of resources on campus, such as the care team or counseling services that or interns, that they're all happy to work with you and sit with you and your roommate, work things out. Or if not, there's other options as well that in the end of the day, you'll always be happy and in a great environment.
I think another resource that I would share is our Office of Student Conduct has a conflict resolution and mediation program, Got Conflict, and that provides a great opportunity for students to sit down with somebody who's trained in conflict resolution to help talk through a situation and try to come to resolution. I've been working in residential life for a long time, and what I see 9 times out of 10 when I see and hear about roommate conflicts, it's things that people won't even talk to each other about. And so one thing that I just always encourage students is, talk to people right from the start. If you're having a conflict with a roommate, the best thing you can do is say, hey, can we talk about this? And most of the time, not 100% of the time, but most of the time, if 2 people identify a conflict and sit down and talk about ways that they could work through that and live together, they're really able to work it out. The problem is when you let it go for too long without saying anything, and then all of a sudden there's that straw that broke the camel's back and everybody's upset. So my encouragement would be, don't let it get to that point. Talk to your roommate, work things out. And if you find that you have a conflict that you can't work out, then remember, Nora just listed a long list of resources that are available to you on campus. So there is help and there is support, but most people are not going to have roommate conflicts. I mean, beyond the normal conflicts you have, say, living with your family, like somebody says or does something to annoy you and you work through it and get over it. But most people have a great living experience.
Yeah, I think we have all the questions answered. Great job, team.
A couple more. Do you want to share some of the answers that were shared from previous questions that we didn't necessarily talk about?
Let's see. Is a 4 or 6 person suite more expensive to live in than a 2/3 person dorm room? And thank you, Sue, for the answers. Prices vary by area and room type. Room rates are posted on the Residential Life webpage. And I know that's been said before, but I know our residential life and housing webpage is extensive and has a number of different opportunities, research. You can kind of go down the rabbit hole. You can go on one page, and next thing you know, you're there for over half an hour looking at the several communities and looking at all the different traditions and going into the amenities and more. So definitely, as Sue mentioned that answer, make sure to check out the residential life webpage. Let's see. Oh, here's one. And this is also, it could be in relation to a number of different clubs and organizations. The question was, how far are the Chabad and the Hillel from the housing? We have a lot of students who are interested in all of our many 450 clubs and organizations and different, cultural options that we have here at Binghamton. But I want to highlight that because, for example, our Chabad is close to our Newing community, and our Hillel and the Union is pretty centrally located. But that's for a number of different clubs and organizations that students might be interested in, general interest meetings and such, especially in the traditional format. Our university union, as that map I showed a little earlier, if you were able to catch it, it's pretty centrally located to that main brain where there's a lot of different things happening. And of course, as mentioned earlier, that's also where the marketplace is. So yes, that's the great thing about having a campus that you can feel like you can breathe, you can take walks around, go for jogs and such, but at the same time, it doesn't feel massive to the point where it's going to take you a half an hour to get to the other side of campus. Definitely not the case, especially when it comes to our clubs and organizations and our other opportunities for students in the social format.
I think I can definitely add to that as well. As someone who attends both Chabad and Hillel,
Awesome.
as he said, I live in Newing, so we're also fairly close to C4, which is the dining hall. It's such a quick walk, and that's where they house the kosher corner, which is the main dining hall that serves for kosher needs. But as opposed to Chabad, right by Newing, there's a bridge and you have a great view as you're walking there. But I think me and my friends timed it, and on Google Maps, it literally is a 5-minute walk. It's really close, and even with other communities, it's a great environment. There's a lot of different areas that serve your religious needs, your own fun hobbies. And they're all very close to campus. So they're all accommodating for everyone's choices.
Thanks, Nora. Something else I'll mention with regard to residential life is that it is required for students to live off campus, or to live on campus, excuse me, during that first year. And, a question that often comes up is housing guaranteed for the subsequent years? So students kind of organically start to move off campus a little bit on their own. So you'll see, obviously, because it's required, 100% participation with the first year students, and then in the second year, it's a little less as more kind of move off campus. But overall, there is going to be housing for those who want it. It's just that the students who want it kind of varies from year to year. So although we don't have a strict, guaranteed all 4 years policy, it's more like you will find the housing that you need if you want it. With transfer students, it's a little bit different. If you're a transfer student, we do have transfer housing, but you're not required to live in it during your first year as a transfer student. You can choose to live, off campus or on campus if you like. Then I don't know if this question came up too, but another one that comes up sometimes is about cars, having cars on campus. Sometimes for first year students, we generally say that they can't bring their cars on campus just because there's not enough parking to accommodate all the first year students that would need cars on campus, but exceptions can be made if students speak with the parking services office. After that first year, students can access more parking permits as well. Okay.
Tanya, I've seen a number of questions about single rooms, so maybe I'll just speak to that generally kind of in terms of room types. So all of the rooms in the apartments communities, I think we've made clear, are all single rooms. On lower campus, you're going to find, by lower campus, I mean our traditional residence halls, you're going to find a mixture of single and double rooms. We do have some design triples on campus, but we're not currently using them as triple rooms. With the COVID stuff, we didn't really want to be putting 3 people in a room. So for this year, the options on lower campus are double and single rooms. The vast majority being double rooms. So, well, yes, there are single rooms available to first-year students. You will find primarily first-year students living in double rooms. Really, you'll find primarily everyone on lower campus living in double rooms. Single rooms on lower campus are available in Dickinson and Newing, but the other areas are all primarily double rooms.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing slides here. So now that I can kind of take a look at some of those Q&As myself, but we are here for you. So if you have any more questions about residential life, what it's like to live on campus, feel free to continue to share those with us in the Q&A section. Are there single bathrooms for single rooms?
Generally, I'm going to say no. There are a very, very limited number of rooms on campus that have a single room with a private bathroom. And those are most often used to accommodate students who have a specific medical accommodation. So you won't find probably that you'll be able to just sign into a room with a private bath.
Okay, are there bikes? Actually, we do. We do have bikes on campus that students can, kind of like city bikes, but like they're Binghamton bikes, so students can check them out. I think you have to sign up with an app or another sort of account, and then you can check them out. I think the maximum amount of time is 2 hours at a time. And then I don't know if you can, you know, step away for an hour and then check them out for another 2 hours. I'm not quite sure how that works, but I know that you can absolutely check them out for free for 2 hours at a time to ride around campus or off campus. We have a question. How many people are in your dorm as a freshman? So my understanding with that is that even with suites that have 6 people in a suite, each room has 2 people in it. And that's sort of standard, typical room for most students. You know, regardless of if it's a suite or if it's a corridor, it's usually 2 with, you know, a limited number of singles. What is your, oh, go ahead, Sue.
I was just going to talk a little bit about at the building level, right? So we don't house, this question came up before too, but I'll just take a minute to explain to everyone. We don't house typically by class level. So in other words, all of our buildings have students from first year students all the way up to seniors living in them. Some campuses you might find like, oh, these are the freshman buildings, these are the sophomore buildings. That's not how we house at Binghamton. We do in our, I guess you could call it part of our specialty housing. We do have 2 buildings that are exclusively first year students. That's Old Digman Hall in Dickinson Community, which also has a health and wellness emphasis to it. And then Oneida Hall in CIW this year was designated as a first year building. So now again, every year we evaluate those options, we determine what's going to be where. So you might look at housing next year and see things a little bit different, but primarily you'll see first year students living in the buildings with other students, with returning students as well. And size of buildings really vary. The larger buildings, so the more heavily populated, you know, more students in the same building are going to be over in Newing and Dickinson, which are also our largest buildings, and Hinman, on the other hand, would probably have the smallest number of students in a single building.
What is your favorite coffee shop at Binghamton on or off campus? So that might be a good question for our students here. If you've been able to grab a cup of joe.
So in Hinman, there is a Starbucks truck that I go to really often. So that's an option for you if you're a coffee lover. Also, there's Dunkin' Donuts in the Union. And my favorite place for coffee off campus is Strange Brew. I don't know if a lot of people know about Strange Brew, but it's downtown, and it's the coffee is fairly cheap, and they do have a lot of options. I think I prefer it more than Starbucks and Dunkin'. That's just my preference, though. But yeah.
We also have Jasmine's and Einstein's. Jasmine's is in the library, and Einstein's is right by it. So there's so many options for coffee lovers out there.
I personally really like Jasmine's because you can get a croissant there that is kind of sweet on top, and like if they warm it up, it's really good.
So it's about the croissants for you, not the coffee, huh?
I mean, I need something to dip in my coffee, which sounds weird to dip croissants in your coffee, but like we all have our little quirks, I think. Great. What percentage of wall space is allowed to be covered with posters? Oh, that sounds like a fire marshal question. How many posters are you bringing to campus? I guess that would be my question. Does anyone have a estimate?
I don't have a rough. Your RAs will really help you with that. I will tell you that you're not allowed to have, I believe, 18 inches above from the ceiling to the wall. You can't have anything on there. 25% of you can only cover up to 25% of your door. With typically we put door decks on people's doors so that we know who they are and they feel welcomed. It's part of us creating a sense of belonging into our communities. And so the door piece, but the whole wall, I would, once you move in, your RAs are going to give you a lot of information, and we try to provide you all the guidance to make sure that it doesn't become a fire safety hazard. And so typically you'll have that in your room once you get there about how much you can actually put up on your wall. I don't know if one of the students remembers exactly the number.
You could probably find it in the university housing license, which you should read before you sign.
I was about to say, that was pretty good, Fire Marshal Diane.
Yeah. Let's see. How do you get from your dorm to class with no car? So they are located very close by to each other. All of our residential buildings are kind of on the outside of what is affectionately known as the brain, where all of our academic buildings are. So they are easily accessible by foot, or we also have campus shuttles that go through some of the interior streets of Binghamton University. But if you require a special accommodation from Office of Students with Disabilities, they can also help you if you need some kind of special accommodation to get from dorm to class. But that is a good question. So students, if you can think back to when you first, I know Nora, this is your first year, but maybe more for Jillian and Ashley, when you first came to Binghamton and you moved into your dorms, were there any activities that were planned for you to help you to kind of like icebreakers or get to know people on your floor that you can remember? Can you share some information about that?
Yeah, so when I first moved into Hinman, the RA there was like super involved. He really wanted to like help the freshmen out. And so there was a ton of icebreakers, there was movie nights, there was game nights, there was times when we went and walked to a bubble tea place that is right down the road from campus that you could walk to really easily. And so there was just a bunch of different events that we did that actually really helped us, like both within our suite, get to know each other, and also with the other people that lived on the same floor.
Yeah, when I was at CIW, my RAs were also really involved, and also like they really helped with the process of like getting to know each other and like just like getting more familiar with campus life and making new friends. I know a lot of them have like group me's, and we have like group chats for like dorm floors or like a whole dorm building. And sometimes RAs would host events for like crepes, or like sometimes we would walk to like Chipotle or something like that. And that would help to like make new friends, meet new people. Yeah.
Thanks. This next question is a two-parter. How has the university handled orientation during COVID? So maybe Diana and Sue can handle that question. And then the second part is for Nora. How did Nora find her friends? So maybe Sue and Diana, you want to address that first part?
A lot of orientation this year, in fact, all of orientation, I shouldn't say a lot, was done through a virtual format. So online sessions, much like this. I think there were a number of like things where you might watch a video or read some information. Diana, do you know, once students got here, I think all of orientation, my understanding all of orientation this year was in a virtual format. And I don't know what the plan is for next year.
I believe it's like pretty virtual, even for some information about the residence halls was all done virtual. But Nora was a student, so maybe engaged in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so personally, I met a few people from a lot of just like the first week. Everyone is starting fresh and everyone's coming to campus on their own. So everyone was it still is, but it's a very welcoming environment. If you see people, everyone's open to saying, hi, how are you? Where are you from? What are you doing? What's your major? Why did you come to Binghamton? Everyone's just so friendly and open. I also just got involved in a few events on campus, such as the Chabad, the Hillel, and overall each building community, they're trying their hardest to bring everyone together. Even with COVID, we have a lot of events and Zooms, like trivia nights, tie-dyes, painting, like a bunch of different things that there's so many online that you can find. Just get involved, see what's happening, utilize all the resources that Binghamton has to offer. There's a bunch. You'll be so overwhelmed with everything, not overwhelmed, but you'll get excited and you'll really find your crowd quickly. I'm sure you'll enjoy it here.
Yeah, and it's okay to say to Nora that it's a little overwhelming. That's an honest emotion that a lot of students go through, and that's an okay to have, and it's okay to express with your roommate or with your RA or with other people who are on campus, because so many students are going through the same thing right now. So there is a lot of good stuff, you know, to be overwhelmed with. I think that too. One of the ways you can kind of parse out what's being offered is through our Be Engaged system that we have online. So it's activities and events that are happening on campus, you know, online or in person. So for example, recently our ballroom dance club hosted an outside dance. So everybody was well socially distanced and they were learning how to do bachata, but that's something that they posted on Be Engaged, and students could go down in front of the library and learn how to do bachata. You know, that was something that they could do. So the Be Engaged is a good way for students to see what's happening, to see what speakers are speaking on campus, what employers might be visiting, what fun activities or events like movies or other things might be happening. Also Multicultural Resource Center, the Center for Civic Engagement. So there's lots and lots and lots of things to do. So, you know, we don't want you to, those are for you to enjoy. We don't want you to have a fear of missing out either because there's so much stuff. And yeah, it can be a little overwhelming. So as Nora said, you'll find your people. It'll start close. It'll start with your roommate, and then it'll branch out to your floor, and then it'll branch out to your building and to your classes. And you'll just start to have these circles that just progress kind of organically. With regard to restarting, I'll share with you all in the chat box here, this is the link to the Binghamton University Restarting Plan FAQs. So the university has done a really good job of addressing FAQs in a lot of different areas, including residential life. So if you want to take a look at those, feel free to check that out. I definitely recommend it. Is there a section of the library that is open 24 hours? That's a good question. I think we did have some 24-hour availability during particular study times, during midterm times, during final times, finals weeks, for example. I'm not sure if that's something the library is still continuing on, but I did see on our university blog recently, they did post an article on best places to study.
And I believe during midterms and finals, oftentimes a lot of additional spaces on campus open up for students to be able to study and use that time. And we host de-stressing during that time as well across the university.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit more about the de-stress Bing? You know, what are some of the events that happen during that week or that activity?
Well, typically we open it up across the university to host, whether that's doing yoga events, meditation, additional studying time, things of that nature in order to relieve stress. There's a lot of programming also around recognizing what causes stress, and that's done through health prevention and promotion services. This year, it's going to look a little bit new for us, so I believe the calendar is opening up in the coming weeks, so we'll have to see what offices planned out, but it is a initiative across the Division of Student Affairs in order to provide students outlets and avenues while they're studying to just take a moment, take a step back. And like I said, oftentimes Campus Rec might do some yoga, fitness classes, offer a variety of options for students to just take a moment and reflect while they're studying, and because it can become a little bit overwhelming for some.
Thank you. Let's see, and then I think this is going to be our last question as we are coming up on the hour. Is there a big Jewish community on campus? Are there many people who meet on the Sabbath? We do have a fairly sizable Jewish student community on campus. And we have some different synagogues that are within the Binghamton area, including Orthodox, Reform, and I think there's one more that I'm forgetting, maybe Justin will remember. And as Nora had mentioned, we do have the halal, or not the halal, excuse me, Nora, help me out.
There is a really big Jewish community, as she said, and I actually met a lot of my closest friends on, because you said, are there many people who meet the Sabbath? Lily asked. There really is, and just the overall community, because the Sabbath is on a Saturday, everyone's walking around, everyone's in their skirts and their cute outfits, coming back from synagogue, and really I met my closest friends at all of these Chabad and Hillel events. And there's also a church right by campus. There's a lot of different resources for everyone's religious purposes. And I'm sure you'll be very well accommodated and you'll meet your great friends.
Thanks, Nora. So thank you to all of our panelists for participating today. Sue, Diana, Ashley, Jillian, Justin, really appreciate all of your information and your perspective on residential life. Thank you to all the attendees. If you do have any questions for us, I will put our admit@binghamton.edu email in the chat, and you can feel free to send us an email with any questions that we weren't able to give today, or just any burning questions that maybe you didn't feel like you wanted to share with the full group. You can also send those to us privately as well. So from all of us in Binghamton, New York, have a great night. Bye, everyone.